News. Newsmaker Saturday starts now.
Thanks for joining us on Newsmaker Saturday. Arizona could be on the verge of a major tax overhaul, instituting a flat income tax. We'd be one of about 13 states to do this. We're going to talk about that later in the program. But first, it took nearly a year, but Lori Vallow and her husband, Chad Daybell, are now charged with murdering her 2 children. Their bodies were unearthed on Daybell's Idaho property last June. Chad Daybell was also indicted on a charge of first-degree murder and insurance fraud in the death of his then-wife, Tammy Daybell. Fox 10 reporter Justin Lum has been on this case from the beginning. He joins us now outside of the federal courthouse. Justin, what a week. It took almost a year for the murder charges to be brought, but now we've got to pause again because Lori Vallow's mental competency has come into question. Could that delay this even longer?
Well, it definitely is right now. Her case in Idaho is on hold. And first off, let's just recap what this week means. The culmination of so much, our coverage since 2019, December 2019. But this story goes back so much further, and it's all just unraveled over the past year and a half. And now Lori and her husband, Chad Daybell, are both indicted in the murders of her 2 kids, JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan, and his then wife, previous wife, Tammy Daybell. So this all just exploded this week. It has been a long time coming for the families of these victims who have been waiting for murder charges, because think about it, last summer, June 9th, the kids were finally found, and their remains the whole time were in the backyard of Chad Daybell up in Idaho. And we had been wondering, are the kids safe? Are they alive? Because they went missing in September of 2019. So that mystery going on for so many months, and then for them to be found the way they were found in that gruesome way outside his house, in the backyard under his property, and still no murder charges. They were basically charged with conspiring together to conceal evidence. And finally, here we are this week, May 24th. Those 2 were indicted in the deaths of JJ and Tylee, and really Tammy Daybell. That was such a mystery because we didn't know anything about her autopsy results. They just came back to the Fremont County Sheriff's Office in Idaho. That's exactly. And so he was married at the time. In October 2019, when Tammy died, she was found dead inside her home. And this is a 49-year-old woman, school librarian, very healthy, training for a marathon at the time, and she just turns up dead. And at that time was initialed a natural death.
Yeah, it's a little,
but
all
things
of it's
really unraveled.
All of it's a little too convenient. It seems like when Lori Vallow finally met Chad Daybell, he'd been writing these kind of end of times doomsday books that she'd been reading for the past maybe 5-6 years. Then she meets him, and that's when the trail of death starts. Can you describe what Chad Daybell was writing about in those books that somehow lit the fuse in Lori Vallow?
So here's the quick bio on Chad Daybell. Doomsday fictional author, claims to have had near-death experiences, claims to have visions like he's some sort of prophet, also a former gravedigger. And so he's written these books over time, nearly 30 of them. And Lori Vallow was a big fan. She was reading these books maybe even since 2015, could go back further. So at the time they meet, it's now October 2018. And to give you the specific event, it's the Preparing a People conference on October 26th in St. George, Utah. And basically the Preparing a People conference is a series of lectures by speakers, and the whole point is to talk about the end of times, to prepare for the end of times, and to be self-reliant. And Chad is one of the well-known speakers. So they finally meet, and then 4 days later, we broke this story, his email to her email. There are documents between them, specifically from Chad, detailing her family tree, the people in her family named as either light spirits or dark spirits, and you cannot make this up. He believes, according to the sources that we spoke to researching this document, trying to figure out what it meant, he believes he can evaluate the person's spirit as a light spirit or dark spirit, and then he'll grade them with numbers. So you had all the people in her family, the immediate family, on this list. And also he started sending documents of who he believed she was in her past lives. He believed, in multiple probations, and you graduate after each life as you die to finally somehow become exalted. So these are very unique spiritual beliefs. This is not the doctrine of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and members of the church will tell you they don't believe in what Chad was allegedly teaching to Lori. But once she starts getting these documents, everything evolves into January 2019, when Charles Vallow, we're going to get into, her fourth husband, is really pleading for help right here in Arizona from Gilbert Police. That's where they were living at the time, trying to get her mentally evaluated. Yeah, you brought us up to speed on this, and I want to play the package from this week that you did on the day that they were charged finally with murder. Here's Justin Lum's piece from earlier this week.
We want to express our deep appreciation for the efforts of the dozens of local, state, including Idaho Attorney General, federal law enforcement members, and Arizona law enforcement who have been working to gather evidence for a year and a half to bring justice to Tammy Daybell, Tylee Ryan, and J.J. Vallow. A major development in the long wait for justice. Chad Daybell, the former Doomsday fictional author, charged with 3 counts of murder in connection to the deaths of J.J. Vallow, Tylee Ryan, and his first wife, Tammy. Lori Vallow, who married him shortly after Tammy died, is accused of murdering her own kids. Both Vallow and Daybell are also accused of conspiring to commit all 3 murders.
I was really just trying not to, set myself up for a disappointment.
Tylee's aunt, Annie Cushing, is staying optimistic.
It's just been a jolt of confidence that they can go after Chad and Lori for all of the deaths.
Prosecutors believe Vallow and Daybell endorsed religious beliefs to justify the murders. Court documents say they exchanged messages discussing death percentages for Tammy and JJ. Documents also say the couple believed Tammy had been possessed by a spirit named Viola. Vallow's late brother Alex Cox is accused of shooting at Tammy on October 9th, 2019. A little more than a week later, investigators say he was in a church parking lot 2.5 miles away from Tammy's home, where she was found dead the next day. Cox's cell phone data ultimately led authorities to the remains of JJ and Tylee last June. Cushing is relieved by long-awaited murder charges.
Yeah, you still carry that weight of, they suffered a lot leading up to their murders.
Vallow is also accused of grand theft. Investigators say she never reported JJ and Tylee's deaths to the SSA, but instead collected Social Security survivor benefits on behalf of the children for months. Daybell is also charged with 2 counts of insurance fraud, accused of increasing Tammy's life insurance to the maximum the policy allowed, just a month before she died. A statement from Tammy's parents and siblings reads in part, "We pray that truth will prevail and that all of us left behind will find a way to pick up the pieces and somehow come out of this crucible together."
Justin, I want to show something that it is a very hard case to follow. We're going to put up a little picture of your war room that shows the twisted relationships and everybody connected. But what you will see in that photo is that all roads lead back to Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow. All the trail of death leads right back to them. Justin, is it prosecutors' theory that they were pretty much eliminating anybody who got in their way of them living a life together and then doing what?
Well, when you read the indictment, basically prosecutors are saying they were using these religious beliefs to justify these murders. And I want to take you back to that nugget from that indictment. Prosecutors have text messages between Chad and Lori where they're talking about his wife Tammy being possessed by a spirit named Viola. It sounds wild, right? That was in July 2019. Lori and the kids hadn't even left Chandler, Arizona. That was just weeks after her husband, Charles Vallow, had been shot and killed by her own brother, Alex Cox, and he's now dead, and Alex claimed self-defense. So they were already talking about death percentages during these text messages. They were talking about her being possessed. And back to Charles, same thing. In the divorce paperwork he filed, he said to his lawyers that Lori accused him of being a dark spirit by the name of Nick or Ned Schneider, basically saying, you are not Charles anymore. You are not my husband. You are now a dark spirit. And what the alleged beliefs are coming from Chad is that if a dark spirit has possessed your body, you are now a zombie. And basically, for you to, your original spirit to be out of limbo, you basically need to be taken care of. So to answer your question, these are based on beliefs that we can't fathom. You can't make this up and in your own head, and if you can, then that's a whole another issue.
But it's happened
between
in other,
these two.
Yeah, it's happened in other cults before where you look back on it and you say, how in the world did anybody believe this? Justin, the person in this that's interesting is Lori Vallow's brother, Alex Cox. He seems to be involved in a lot of this. Of course, he's dead now. Did he put the hit on Lori Vallow's husband?
Are you talking about Charles Vallow? Because
yes,
she's now on husband number 5.
No, I know that. No, Charles Vallow dies. Yes,
2 of her husbands are dead.
I know. Did Alex Cox, did that whole idea of self-defense, police now think that that's a whole different deal, right?
Well, Alex claimed self-defense because he says Charles hit him in the head with a baseball bat. And just so people know, Charles played minor league baseball, college baseball. He was a fit man, and this was a metal baseball bat, allegedly. If Charles were to hit Alex Cox in the back of the head, you would think he would at least be unconscious, but he was able to call 911 after the shooting. And so it's hard for family members of Charles Vallow to ever believe this. They really don't buy the self-defense claim at all. And Chandler police have never called it self-defense. They kept investigating, and now this case is now in the hands of the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, accusing Lori Vallow of conspiracy to commit murder.
It's incredible.
So now it's going to be in the hands of MCAO to make this charging decision or not.
Okay. Justin Lum, I appreciate it. We're going to have you back as this continues to unfold, this saga. When we come